After a brief hiatus, I'm back, baby, with another annual Profections video, and this one's about JD Vance. On August 2nd, JD Vance stepped into his Saturn year, and if you've been following any of my other videos, you may know that Profection show where the pressure lands, and for JD Vance, Saturn is running the show. Saturn years are heavy, they strip away excuses, and they force you to face the weight of your own foundation. And Saturn doesn't ease in quietly, it arrives here as the taskmaster. This is the archetype of karmic testing, hard lessons, and the kind of discipline you can't charm your way out of. And what makes it even more striking is how this plays out in his closest relationship. And his wife, Usha Vance, carries Capricorn power in her sun and Mercury, and a Scorpio moon that ties directly to his natal Saturn. So this Saturn year doesn't just test JD Vance's public face or career. It runs through his marriage, his alliances, and the very voice standing beside him. At 41, his 6th house in Capricorn is activated. The 6th house is the house of work, health, duty, and the grind behind the scenes. And with Saturn in charge, this becomes a year of proving loyalty under pressure. A year where the system either holds or it cracks. Now, Saturn shows up in 3 different ways this year. First, in his natal chart, the lifelong archetype. Second, in his Profection chart, the hidden layer. And third, in the sky right now, the transiting Saturn, the live storyline unfolding. In his natal chart, his Time Lord of the year, Saturn, is in Scorpio in his 4th house, and that makes him the gatekeeper of the root. This is about control over the base, guarding ancestral power, and protecting what's buried and making sure the cracks in the foundation never see the light of day. This instinct to secure the base and control the narrative at the root will dominate the year's tone. But in the Profection chart, Saturn lands in Pisces in the 8th house. Here, Saturn becomes the shadow broker. The 8th house rules shared resources, debts, entanglements, and power that moves in silence. This is where loyalty turns into currency, and survival depends on bargains made behind closed doors. And guess who's having the 8th house year? Yep, Donald Trump. And then we look at the sky right now. Saturn retrograde in Aries, conjunct Neptune, which is also retrograde, moving through his 9th house. This is the false prophet. The voice that speaks about law, morality, and belief, but under Neptune's haze, it becomes theater, spin, ideology dressed up as truth. It's the sermon built to hide the shadow. So we end up with 3 faces of Saturn encircling JD Vance this year: the gatekeeper of the root, the shadow broker in the dark, and the false prophet on the world stage. And that's where it links back to Trump. In whole sign houses, Saturn is in JD's 9th. Ideology, law, the global stage, and it's hitting so late in Aries that it brushes against the 8th house. The place of debts, secrecy, and survival bargains. That's the exact house that Trump is living through in his own Profection year right now. And while JD performs ideology in the 9th, the shadow of the ace still bleeds through, connecting his storyline directly to Trump's. Saturn years are ruthless. They break what isn't sustainable and they harden what survives. For JD Vance, this year won't just test his work or his health. It will test the bargains he's made, the base he builds on, and the story he's selling on the public stage. By next August, we'll see if the taskmaster forged him into steel or revealed the cracks he's been hiding all along. Thanks for joining me. This is Rissa from Adventures in Astrology, where I talked about the Shadow King, JD Vance, and his annual Profection year, which is in the 6th house in Capricorn.